Throughout the year, the armed forces have confidently maintained the strategic initiative, conducting active offensive operations on almost all fronts. As Vladimir Vladimirovic noted, over the year, more than 300 settlements and over 6,000 square kilometers of territory have been liberated. This exceeds last year's figures by a third. Moreover, the advance rates of the East, Center, and West troop groupings have increased by 1.5 to 2 times compared to 2024. Behind these numbers lies a qualitative result. The Kursk region has been liberated, and important defense nodes of the Ukrainian troops in Donbass and Zapraza have been eliminated. Ultimately, what was obvious from the start has been confirmed. The collapse of the Ukrainian armed forces' defense is inevitable. Finally, even Kiev's western overseers clearly understand this. The Northern Forces grouping liberated the large border city of Volchansk, and the creation of a security zone in the Kharkiv and Sumy regions continues. As a result, the threat of enemy invasion into the Belgorod, Kursk, and Bryansk regions has been reduced. This has allowed for the beginning of demining efforts. Over 150,000 hectares have already been cleared, and around 3 million explosive devices have been destroyed. Restoration of social and economic infrastructure in the border areas has begun. This creates conditions for establishing a peaceful life for citizens. The Western troop grouping occupied the strategically important city of Kupiansk, which the enemy is unsuccessfully trying to reclaim. The supply routes for the Ukrainian armed forces subdivisions passed through it. This will allow for the expansion of security zones in the Kharkiv region and reduce threats of shelling by the enemy on the northern areas of the Luhansk People's Republic. Currently, an encircled grouping on the left bank of the Oskol River, east of Kupiansk, is being eliminated. The capture of Krasny Lyman continues. Its liberation opens the way for the blockade of Sloviansk, a crucial logistics center for the Ukrainian armed forces. The southern troop grouping has occupied strong enemy areas, Chasiv, Kurakhove, and Siversk. Currently, battles are being fought for the city of Kostiantynivka. It is the key to the last stronghold of the Kiev regime in the Donbass, the Druzhkivka-Kramatorsk-Sloviansk agglomeration. Capturing this position will allow the liberation of the Donetsk People's Republic in a short time. The center troop grouping took control of the city of Krasnoarmysk, which was a symbol of resistance for both the Ukrainian army and Western overseers. The destruction of Ukrainian units in Dimitrov, the last stronghold of the Ukrainian armed forces defense in the Krasnoarmysk agglomeration, continues. The enemy in the city is well blocked. The liberation of Krasnoarmysk and Dimitrov will be the largest defeat of the Ukrainian army in Donbass in recent times. The eastern troop grouping is advancing at high speeds into the depths of the enemy defense in the Zapraza and Dnipropetrovsk regions. Since November 1st of this year alone, the group has taken control of over 400 square kilometers of territory and liberated 24 settlements. The liberation of the city of Huliapol continues. It is an important fortified area for the Ukrainian armed forces and a transport hub, which will create conditions for the liberation of all of Zapraza. The Dnipro troop grouping is advancing on the Kurakhove direction, having captured the settlement of Malotokmachka and is fighting on the approaches to the city of Kurakhove. Taking control of this settlement will create favorable conditions for the further development of the offensive in the northwest of the Zapraza region. Additionally, the troops of the grouping securely hold the Dnipro island zone, repelling ongoing enemy attempts to land on the Tendra and Kinburn spits. Overall, as a result of the successful actions of the joint troop grouping this year, the combat potential of the Ukrainian armed forces has been reduced by a third. Firstly, they have deprived them of over 103,000 various weapons and military equipment, including about 5,500 of Western production. This is almost twice the figures of 2024. At the same time, Ukraine's security forces have lost nearly 500,000 military personnel, causing Kiev to lose the ability to replenish its groupings through forced mobilization of citizens. Secondly, the capabilities of Ukraine's military-industrial complex to mass-produce military products have been halved. By the way, the effectiveness of Russian precision strikes is about 60%, which is significantly higher than the effectiveness of Ukrainian strikes on Russian territory. This year's recruitment plan has been exceeded. Nearly 410,000 citizens have voluntarily contracted for military service. Almost two-thirds of them are young people under 40, and over a third have higher or secondary specialized education.